Covers its puck props. Nailed that. Brought to you by Sports Interaction, who probably didn't condone that sweet singing, but you get what you get. All-Star Weekend. Boys nursing some hangovers today? Like, you think
Have to be.
Is it the one weekend where it's kind of like last night was just awful. Like, it was awkward, it was uncomfortable, and the boys didn't want to be there, I could tell.
So here's the one thing that I've heard as a consistent theme so far. Okay. So I was down at FanFest yesterday, and it's an unbelievable event. But talking to different people that were there, the one consistent word that I heard a lot of was unorganized. So you can imagine what has to take place to put an event like this on. Like FanFest, all the different little areas that they have set up with games and different interactive stuff. It's really cool. But when the players came through on the red carpet, it just felt like full on scramble mode. You can tell that, when they were on the red carpet, to get to the stadium was a little bit of a scramble mode too, because they had to start at 6 and they had them go through the red carpet at 5. So, and then you look at the event itself. I mean, aside from Michael Bublé, it didn't look like anybody was too excited to be there.
Bublé's a
including Bieber. So
like Bieber just sat on the steps. Like,
yeah. It looked like his micro dose of shrooms hit him a little harder than what Bieber did, or what Bublé did.
Bublé out there talking about microdosing is the funniest thing. And Will Arnett,
hilarious.
I don't know how to follow that up. Will Arnett goes, does anybody want to follow up on that?
But honestly, like, those are the things you look for in events like that, for guys to get out of their character and stuff like that. And it just, even when you looked at the players on the ice, they just looked like very awkward human beings. It's almost like they were like little kids in school waiting to get yelled at by their teachers. So
like, the production was brutal. Like, all the guys had their mics on, and you're like, who's talking right now?
Yeah, no, it was kind of weird. I like the fact that, this has been my complaint with the NHL almost yearly, is they tried something new. And you hope from this rendition of new, they look back and say, okay, what can we do differently?
Yeah, sure. The draft was.
And here's the other thing. Like, did we overthink
the draft?
Number one.
We didn't think about the leading scorer, who was it? Yeah.
Right?
That's exactly what I thought. Yeah.
Like, we're all
Nate McKinnon was on the team, and we're like, no, Kucherov didn't even process.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing. Like, when Kucherov went first, and it's like, oh yeah, no shit, he's the only player right now
actually care
that is the best available, and that's probably why he went first overall.
Yeah, hindsight. But hey, if looked like Nate did pick Crosby first, it was there. That was spot.
That probably could have been the only one that we could have predicted, and the Leafs one, and the Leafs one
was up there for going last there at the end, and then apparently going last. I think you guys were mentioning on the show, like,
so stupid.
The last guys, like, it was just random. It wasn't the last pick.
For like a conversational viral moment, right? And you talk about, like, what everyone remembers of the last 2 drafts, the Phil Kessel moment, which was a funny one, right? I mean, it's something that you can always talk about for the rest of his life. And then, the Ovechkin, hey, pick me last, and he doesn't go last. So, and then last night, the last 4 guys, they just hand him envelopes and say, here's your team. It's like they missed out on a moment there, and that's pretty disappointing.
Yes, it was. And even if you weren't watching it, like, just trying to get updates on who was getting drafted made me feel like a degen, because no one was out there. I'm like, who's first? Who's last? Who got drafted? Is Cam Talbot still available? Now, it was an odd one to bet, and, like, the feeling, like, sometimes when you bet, you want to make sure that, like, you're engaged. You can, like, go through the sweat. A lot of that is the return on investment on that. And I didn't get it because I didn't watch it, but the comments I was going through on Twitter were just eviscerating the entire production. But skills comp today, that's a big one. The boys will care. $1 million on the line, only 12 guys. That should be a little more exciting. It does get ugly when we find out, like, all the points accumulate and the guy with the most points wins. But the obstacle course, which is event 8, which is basically you have the quarterfinals, semifinals, and then the finals. Like, it sounds like it's just all the events again with double points. there's a lot of gray area with
Yeah, there's a lot of confusion through all this. You wish there would just be like a black and white version and saying, here, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
This is how the points are going to be counted, and these are the events that follow with the guys that move on. So
like it's a hardest shot competition like we've seen in the past. You just get 2 shots and that's
I
it.
think so. I think that's what I heard. But again, there's no confirmation.
Like, are they going to a finals? Like the accuracy
Yeah.
shooting. The accuracy shooting has 3 rounds last year. Are they doing it 3 rounds again this year? Like there's not a lot of literature exactly how it's out. So when we're betting it, make sure we know. But I mean, the books are also in the same spot where they probably don't know as much
either. Yeah.
But let's go. Hey, everybody in the chat. Adam, Neil. He's moved over to tennis with nothing going on.
Not a good choice, Neil. Not a good choice. No. Don't come and get tennis advice from us.
No. Well, we need another goal from Karagua Muruk from
Turkish soccer league.
Yes, you know
yes.
Yes. Soccer is back. It's Friday. We also get the Ertze Divisa second league in Dutch. Was a big fan of that one for a little Friday.
Look at you, degenerate.
Oh, we got to do something during the afternoon, bud. Let's go.
Are you microdosing right now? You're not microdosing, are you?
No, we're not microdosing. I appreciate it. No. Coffee and water for this beefcake. Let's go. Futures markets. Yes. All odds, courtesy, sports interaction. Exciting Lewis Hamilton, though. I mean, if you're into it, news, absolutely.
Man. It's massive news.
It's
$100 million a year is what he's being paid.
Crazy indeed. Let's get to these future markets where we're looking outside of outrights. We're looking outside of divisions. Let's get right to the awards, bud. Jack Adams, things are sharpening up. There's a lot of chalk. Jack Adams Award. We got Rick Tocchet, minus 110, and then bonus plus 400, and Torts and Knobloch at 10-1, or sorry, plus 900 in that spot. Where are you lying here? Are you in the Tocchet boat? Because I think there's cases to not go chalk here.
Well, if you had to make a decision today, it's definitely Rick Tocchet. Because you look at the season that Vancouver had. Look, I do predictions before every season at TSN, and I didn't even have Vancouver as a playoff team. Be straight honest with you, and the fact that they're leading the league right now in points and have a chance to win the President's Trophy, I think a lot of that has to do with the impact that Rick Tocchet's had on that team. So he, to me, would be the runner-up. So let's look at value. And I'm actually surprised I don't see one name on this list. And I'm not sure if you want to take a guess at who I'm thinking of for the name on this list.
I don't want to sound stupid. Go ahead.
Where's Jim Montgomery of the Boston Bruins? I mean, who? There he is. 30 plus. What's that?
Plus 4,000.
Plus 4,000.
40-1.
I mean, like
getting pretty far with Charlie Coyle and Pavel Zacha as your 2 centers,
right? And I mean, and he's right up there. Like, this is a team that has a chance to win the President's Trophy in a year that was supposed to be a regression year for the Boston Bruins. So, to me, I think there's extreme value there. I don't think he's getting nearly enough credit or love for the season it just seems like Boston hasn't missed a beat, and it's just what impact he's had in the 2 seasons that he's had there. Adam Renkamp asked, why not Paul Maurice? Paul Maurice was going to be my choice.
It's a good number
in the beginning. It's a great number because of exactly what I just mentioned with Jim Montgomery. This is a Florida team that everyone thought that last year was just Cinderella. And you talk about the season starting with no Ekblad, no Montour. Who was Bobrovsky going to be? This team is as good as any in the league. If anything, they're the favorite for me for a Stanley Cup odds. So I think you got value in both Maurice and Montgomery there for Coach of the Year. Like,
trade deadline coming up, Florida really doesn't have to do much. I don't think they need much.
I mean, maybe a depth forward, like a guy that can play in the third or fourth line.
Mr. Ryan, like as your third line guy, they don't really need much 1 to 9. Boston, if Boston goes out there and gets bona fide centers, you're like, all of a sudden you're hanging on to Monty at 40-1. Not too bad.
Yeah.
I was on the
sure.
Knobloch train just because of like, I was kind of just looking at, and it's kind of the same thing with most of these markets. It's basically 1 versus 2 in the odds. And bro, if Edmonton comes up, wins that division from 31st in points before he came in and takes care of Vancouver and passes them, how does this guy not beat out Tocchet for Coach of the Year?
Yeah. It's a legitimate argument. I mean, they won 16 in a row. Who's to say how much further they can carry on this streak? I can't imagine it's going to go much longer. But they're 12 points back of the Vancouver Canucks. They have 4 games in hand. So absolutely. If Edmonton rises all the way to the top to a spot most people in my industry predicted where they would be throughout the season, and most people picked them as Stanley Cup favorites, absolutely Chris Knobloch deserves some credit on that, and that's value. So I guess that's what you're betting on right now is, again, I don't see value in Rick Tocchet, even though he's worthy of the position. No. What you're trying to do is find great value based on what you think teams are going to finish at near the end of the season. I think we pointed out 3 really, really good ones right now that present tremendous value.
How tough is it for a team like Vancouver to clean up the rest of the year and perform at that same level without the experience and the expectations going forward?
See, my thing with Vancouver was it was hard for me to buy into them because I always kept saying, okay, is this who they really are? Are they going to keep this up? Well, we're 45 games into the season. You're not changing your identity after this point. If anything, that happens after between the 20 and 30 game point. So yeah, I think Vancouver's legit, and they know they're legit. They believe they're legit, which is why they went out and made a big trade the other day to confirm that they're legit by adding Lindholm.
And I didn't draft him first overall. Ruined my entire night. Ruined my entire night.
Damn you. Damn you guys.
Let's change gears. We got Monty. We do like Monty there at 40-1. Paul Maurice, Adam like Paul Maurice at plus 1,900. And I could be convinced for Knobloch at plus 900 for the plays for Coach of the Year. Let's go Rookie of the Year. There's obviously a lot of moving pieces with Bedard still out. So Bedard had surgery January 10th, announced 6 to 8 weeks. That leaves about 20 to 17 games for a guy who was about 0.85 points per game. And that's playing all the games. Like, there's a reason for them to shut him down. Like, there's no, A, they're getting better draft capital, and B, they're saving a guy who there's no, I don't know, he got his taste. Let's just let him chill. There's no need to rush him out there. And that's expecting Bedard to jump back in and have the same production as he had. I'm sure you can attest to something. If you're that young and you've not had a lot of bumps in your life, and all of a sudden this is a major thing, does that change kind of your perspective or how you approach a game now? Like, I'm sure there's a spot where it's like, okay, now I might have to change some things up going through the middle or situations where maybe he got away with it before.
And who are you asking about, Bedard?
Yeah. Does this change, like getting your jaw broken, going across the middle? Like, is that going to change his mentality at all?
I mean, I can't speak on that. It's never happened to me, but you probably have that little bit of hesitation, in your game. And I think too, like, you got to look at where you are in the season, right? Your games you're playing mean absolutely nothing. And so do you really want to put a lot of investment into the remaining of this season that could jeopardize your off season or the start of your season next year? So I don't know how Chicago handles it. I mean, right now they sit at the bottom of the standings. Do they look at Bedard and say, okay, yeah, like maybe we look at this as a year where we tried to get you and just put ourselves in the best position to get another really high-end prospect that we could slot in with you next year in a Celebrini and look at that angle. But I think Bedard has done enough so far in the games that he has played to sort of lock this trophy in, because
no, that's not what I wanted to hear. You think so?
I mean, who else are you giving it to?
Brock Faber is 12th in the league in time on ice, 41%.
You're absolutely right. Brock Faber is a guy that has put himself in. No, you said Brock Faber.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He has put himself in this conversation, right? But is Minnesota going to be a playoff team? And if they're not, how does that hurt or help his chances?
Do you think that means anything in the Calder?
It does and it doesn't, because you'll be playing meaningful games down the stretch versus non-meaningful games where maybe people don't really notice you as much. And believe me, he has created a strong conversation for his candidacy. But if you're the NHL, do you want a Bedard, a guy that you're celebrating winning that trophy, or do you want a Faber for a guy who's winning that trophy? Like I said, I think Bedard.
Did McDavid win it?
He didn't. But who did he lose it to that year? Remind me.
That's why I formed it in a phrase of a question, because I wasn't 100% sure.
Right. So while I get to my next point, just research that quickly, because I think a guy that nobody's really paying attention to here, and I don't even see his name on the chat. What about Sammy Urson, the goaltender in Philadelphia right now?
Yeah, it's his crease.
It's his crease right now because Carter Hart's no longer there. And if Philly's in a playoff spot, okay? If the only way Philly right now is going to make the playoffs is if this guy Sammy Urson, plays at a Vezina level, which is somewhat of what he's shown so far throughout this season. He's got good numbers. He's played really well. He was actually on the verge of taking over that job completely, even though Hart was there. But he's a guy right now that's a sneaky pick, I think, to catch a lot of people's eyes. I mean, Leo Carlson, I know they're on that weird schedule with him where he plays only a certain amount of games. Logan Cooley, I mean, hasn't really had the breakout season considering the position that he's in. Matthew Nyes plays with Matthews and Marner, hasn't had that standout type of a season. So, I mean, if you're looking at value from other guys, who else really stands over value? Yeah, Faber, I think, is to me the guy that can overtake Bedard. But why not look at Sammy Urson right now as a guy that could actually win it if he helps Philly make the playoffs?
McDavid's 15-16, right? I believe so. The year before Austin Matthews.
I believe so, yeah.
Artemi Panarin, never heard of him.
I mean, that's who we lost out to.
Yeah. No, right? All right. So here's the case for Faber. All right. Let's try to figure out. We'll put this game. So we got Bedard around 20 to 17 games left if he returns, if he goes 8 weeks off from the time of the surgery. We see Faber there, plus 325. Okay. We're getting some goals in Turkey. Sorry. It cuts you off when you see that big chance. We got 0.85 points per game. So if we say he gets those 20 games, he's somewhere around 47 to 50 points on the year, minus all the games he missed. Faber, if he plays every game going forward at a 0.59 points per game, puts him at 48 points. There's not a chance that Faber leads all rookies in scoring as a defenseman, playing 40% of the time.
Won't win it. You're right.
Won't win it. So like, if the numbers are there, if Faber continues at this pace and Bedard comes back and even scores at that same pace, which is a pretty modest projection on that end. So Faber could be 50 points. Rookie defenseman getting 50 points. I don't have the numbers on me. I'm sure it doesn't happen very often. I can slap up Makar just to bring it up in that situation. Makar, 50 points in the year. He won the Calder. Only played 57 games, though, too.
Yeah.
Joseph
Woll, if he stayed healthy all year, I think would have been a strong candidate. I'm very high on him, but I don't think he'll have a good enough sample size even when he does come back. Because when he does come back, you're not completely eliminating Samsonov from the net. You got to find a way to keep Martin Jones somewhat, ready. So he's going to get a spot. I actually think the Leafs might do a 3-man rotation in net if that's what it calls for. So I think that's what takes away from the Joseph Woll conversation.
Yeah, Dave's with me. Dave's saying, yeah, Faber. I mean, it's tough. Exactly. So
yeah,
it's
never says, all right, I'll bet the house on Faber.
in an 8-leg parlay. Attaboy.
Nice.
That's smart betting right there. Let's go. Plus 325. That's I like the Faber move there in that spot.
No, it's a good one. You're talking about value for a guy not named Bedard. That's good.
It's shortening up for sure, and it will continue to shorten up the longer. He's not going to get longer the more Bedard is out. Bedard's not coming back till March. right? Like that number's only going to get shorter now. Vesna. Where are we? All right. So all the guys all the favorites right now, we're kind of seeing like -110, -113 favorites. We saw it with Tocchet. We saw it with Bedard. And now we're seeing it with Connor Hellebuyck. Did you know that Laurent Brossoit has a better save percentage and a better goals against than Hellebuyck?
Really?
Yeah.
Well, how many games has he played?
12 or 14. I don't know.
Yeah, Hellebuyck's played what, almost 35?
35 on the nose, bud.
Yeah.
I love Aiden Hill, but 17 games to 35 isn't going to cut it. People want to get Demko. I'm not a big fan of Demko. If there's a spot I like here.
Hang on. Stuart Skinner?
Oh. It's the Swayman, bud.
The Swayman, okay.
The Swayman. So Boston, same thing. If Boston loads up, if Boston gets, you know what I mean? If they add their Todd Bertuzzi, like last year's Todd Bertuzzi, like if they get someone who produces someone down the middle, though, that could go a long way. Swayman. I think Swayman's a better look than Demko. Swayman, 3 regulation losses on the year, over 26 starts, .924 save percentage, has 1 more shutout despite 8 fewer games than Hellebuyck, who, I mean, that's a great system they have there, and I don't know if he's going to keep up this workload pace. I said he might see less minutes down the stretch. As I said, Brisson has been a solid backup. Do you see anybody? I mean, I'm not going minus. I'm not doing Hellebuyck at that juice. Not a chance.
No.
You see anybody outside of Demko or Hellebuyck that, I mean, you've been slapping plus 4,000s down. I'm guessing you're going Stuart Skinner somewhere down there.
Stuart Skinner, man. I mean, you look at the numbers this guy has put up during this 16 game
plus 6,000.
I mean, again, if he's completely turned his season around, you talked about it. If Edmonton gets overlaps or overtakes Vancouver and becomes the #1 seed, how can you not look at Stuart Skinner as one of the big reasons why this team has gotten there? I'm trying to find his stats during this 16-game winning streak. What I did find, sorry, what did you say? Yeah, get me those stats because
21. I think it was started on the 21st.
21st of December.
Yeah.
Yes.
950 save, 1.41 goals against. He's played 12 games, obviously 12-0, and he has allowed just 17 goals.
Are those not Vezina numbers?
Yeah, obviously a small sample size.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that he's going to win it, but if he continues these type of numbers,
okay. Since Knobloch jumped up, this is a good sample size. November 13th, 925 save, 206 goals against. Let me add a filter here so we can get rid of the crappy people that have only played 10 or more games. Hellebuyck's got him 938 to 925. 1.83 goals against to 2.06. Skinner,
he's not that far off.
Goalie over that stretch. Yeah, it's it's a lot closer than 60 to 1.
It's a legit conversation. I mean, you're talking about a long shot here, but you're getting 50 to 1.
If you're holding 60 to 1 right now and Hellebuyck goes down, all of a sudden that could get to like 10 to 1.
Right? Look, right now it's no secret. The top two favorites are Demko and Hellebuyck. Those are the guys right now.
You got Skinner at plus 6,000. What? Oh, you had Monty, Coach of the Year, at plus 5,000.
More than that, wasn't he?
No, he was 50 to 1, I believe. Skinner's been your longest one here.
But again, am I wrong with anything that I'm pointing out? I'm giving you legit reasons as to why.
No, you're bang on. I'm being conservative and taking the guys not the juice, and you're like, no.
Again,
scroll down, Mick. No, keep scrolling down.
I'm not trying to take away from the obvious because I'm addressing the obvious here.
So good. There you go. There's
Samuel Montembeau. Samuel Montembeau's got some good numbers.
That's mixed. Yeah.
I'm looking at value that could potentially hit based on certain performances. If Edmonton at the end of the year is the number one team in the league and they win the President's Trophy, how do you not look at Stuart Skinner as a Vezina candidate with those type of numbers?
All right. Sold. Got me.
I mean, Dave is saying that Hayden Hill, I don't think Hayden Hill has played enough games right now.
Yeah. You're not bad. Like, I think he's one of the better goalies in the league. That's tough to say on his small sample size, but he was a guy I liked early in the season. I believe like 15, 10-1 in that range, but 60-1 is bananas for a team that could literally finish first in points in the entire league.
Yeah. I bet you right now, if you tweet something like that, by the end of the day, it'll go down to like half.
Nah, I'll probably just get like 13 Russian bots and liked by girls in scantily clad outfits with no followers, which is becoming a problem on X, if you've noticed. All right, Stuart Skinner. Let's go that one. But I do like the Swayman in that spot too. But you're starting to see a theme here for teams that down the stretch, Edmonton, Boston, that could be doing something. Joey Decord, but he's fallen off. Exactly. Joey Decord has not been the Joey Decord of that 10-game stretch. It's not there.
No.
I hear you. All right, where are we going next? Let's see. We go from there to the Norris. This is, I don't know. This is just a quick one.
There's not much conversation here. It's gonna be either Hughes or Makar.
I mean, I'm in Team Makar, but like,
I am too. I think
that price.
Well, Makar last year won it when Yossi should have won it, right? Yossi had 100, or was it Yossi or Carlson?
Carlson was. You're thinking like 2 years ago, where last year was Carlson. Last year was the first 100-point, but Yossi was on track
to beat
2 years ago.
Yeah, and Makar won it. So this is his trophy to lose. As great as the season that Quinn Hughes is having, if Quinn Hughes doesn't blow Makar out of the water when it comes to stats, statistically, he's only 4 points ahead of him.
Yeah. Makar, better points per game, more time on ice, more shots on goal per 60, but fewer points per 60 at 5-on-5, which ultimately could be a deciding factor.
Makar is turning this trophy into the Nick Lidstrom conversation.
He's also going to dominate every event today.
Pretty much. Yeah, I believe so too. When Nick Lidstrom was in the voting for the Norris, it was like the other guys didn't even stand a chance. It was going to be his. And I think as long as Makar is in the top three, it's going to be tough to beat him.
Yeah, if I'm looking at those two numbers, it's just I'll take Makar in the value versus Hughes. Obviously not Lane, -135 there with the man himself, Quinn Hughes. Hart Trophy. This is where it gets interesting. McDavid's steaming, all right? We all want to hit McDavid here because we're not hitting Kucherov at that number. Or sorry, we're not hitting McKinnon at that number. Kucherov, that the production that those two are putting up, and we were happy to hit them going into the break, it's pretty tough. If you look back, this is what I figure. If you go back over the last two seasons, including this year and last year, take their points per game, right? We saw that McDavid, they're still they haven't played as many games, obviously, right? Edmonton in that spot. Points per game since last year, extrapolated over the remaining games. This is what you end up in a points total. Mm-hmm. McKinnon, 137, Kucherov, 133, and McDavid, 134.
Wow.
I don't have the Art Ross numbers here, but Hart, if McDavid finishes at 134 with those guys at 133 and 137 and Edmonton wins the West, he's the MVP.
He is the MVP is what you're saying?
Yeah, if Edmonton finishes first and he's within 5 points of any of those guys.
Look, I between those three guys, it's a crapshoot.
But the odds aren't saying that. I can get McDavid at
+400. I wouldn't be betting McKinnon because I don't see value in it, even though I think he's going to win it. But I would take the value on at least Kucherov or McDavid because they have just as good of a chance to win it based on their point protection. But go back to that screen, Mick. Here, I'm going to throw a long shot at you too.
I think we've lost Mick.
Did we lose Mick?
Mick is gone. That's right. That's all right.
So, okay.
I'm the producer now. Watch out. Zoom in.
There you go.
Oh, geez.
Go back to the heart.
No,
you can't?
Okay,
so I'll pull it up here. I got it here. Austin Matthews right now sits at 13-1. Okay. If this guy scores 70 goals, you don't think there's going to be a conversation for him to win the Hart? Since the last time we saw it was when who scored? Was it McGillney that scored 70 plus?
What? Like in the league?
Yeah.
Oh, was it? Was Amo the last guy to score 70 goals? No.
Last.
Oh, geez. Here come the typing fingers. Here come the typing fingers. But all right, so like Steve DeMar saying Kucherov, I get it. Sure. Tampa Bay is still winning. He's maybe the most valuable to his team. Yes. McKinnon has Rantanen. He has Cale Makar. He has a better team. Sure. But McDavid, I mean, outside, like, Edmonton's not a stacked team. Like, Warren Fogle is their top 6 winger on a line with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Evander Kane, who Evander Kane's production is not great.
Yeah, 1992-93, McGillney scored 76 with the Buffalo Sabres.
Wow.
Yeah.
So 70 goals. All right. So there's like there are. So think about the talking point that will exist at that point. That point is, do you not give the MVP to a guy who scored 70 goals?
Right. I mean, there's an argument to be made there, and that's where I think you can find value outside of those 3 guys, because I think one of those 3 guys is going to win it. And if you ask me, I think it's going to be McKinnon. McDavid has won it before. Kucherov has won it before. I think this is McKinnon's year. But if you're looking outside the box, if Austin Matthews scores 70 plus, I think there's going to be a strong case for him to win it.
All right, we'll put that on your long shot list as you continue to find some big ones. No one's out here being like, "Oh, great call, Josh. plus 375 on Brock Faber." I'm really
You're boring. You're boring with your pick.
Yeah, I'm vanilla. Thanks, pal. Yeah. No, scroll down, Mick. Let's go start Skinner 60-1. What? It is a great number. That number is great. I am going to bet that right after this. And 70 goals. That number at 70 goals is nuts, right? Like everyone's talk about it. I mean, McDavid has steamed up. He was way behind there, and this All-Star break has stopped and had people time to sit there and talk about these markets, which has corrected McDavid's number, because I think it was, I mean, during this streak, I think it was long as 10-1 as McKinnon and Kucherov are really going at it. But I mean, I think he kind of missed the boat on McDavid, especially when that number was high. But 70 goals is enticing now that you talk about it. I hear you.
There you go.
Let's talk about NHL All-Star games. What money line are the locks? Don't bet on the game. That's my issue. The game, it's the format. It's just it. I say that because I have in the past, and I've watched it, and I've been infuriated by betting on it.
Yeah. Well, because the thing is, the hard part is it's not 2 teams, right? It's not a game. It's not a one game where you're just betting on the winner. You have to try to find one out of the 4 teams that's going to win it because of the format that they're playing.
You're going to see the lines, like 4 games. You're going to see the lines. You might see minus, like if it's minus 110 aside, you might see minus 115, minus 105. There won't be like, oh, Team McKinnon, they're loaded. They're going to be a heavy favorite.
One team that's heavily favored, don't bet it. Bet the underdog in that game. Take the plus 20 value.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot more value betting on the skills competition today at some of those prices, especially those 5 events. So we're on Makar plus 700, plus 750. That's a buy point there, 700 to win it all. There's just such a huge edge for Makar, who is the only guy who's in the fastest skater and the hardest shot competition, which only has 5 guys. Only 5 positions are giving points. He's guaranteed points in those 2 contests. So his run to the second round is the easiest. Then he gets to choose his goalie. He could face Alex Georgiev, his own goalie, could have an edge in that situation. If he makes it to the third round, which is cumulative points, apparently they're doing all those rounds again. He already did the fastest skater. He already did the hardest shot. if you're a guy who didn't compete in the fastest skater and now you have to do it in the finals, that's not fun.
No,
right?
it's not fun, and it's definitely not welcomed by the players either. I mean, when you do fastest skater, you need a warm up. Like you can't just be sitting there and expect to go skate. One, the body's not going to allow it, and two, you're probably going to feel it afterwards and hope you don't get hurt doing it.
Exactly. So if he can keep it close with McDavid, maybe Barzal doesn't make it that far. Let's say that. And then McDavid, he's facing McDavid in that spot. If he can keep that one close, like he has a big advantage over McDavid in the hardest shot competition, right? That he's in and McDavid isn't. There's a lot to like about Makar. He's become the favorite for a reason, just because of the format. Like when it comes to actual production, we can kind of just throw that out the window to coin flippage, especially when you're only getting 2 shots in the hardest slot. But the path is for Makar. So great looks on the board today, bud. I'll give you that.
Yeah. I did my homework, buddy. Come on, I did my homework.
you did. I'm just like, number 2. How about number 2 guy? How about the number 2 guy?
I'm going bargain hunting. That's
but I do like it. My longest, I believe, was Knobloch at plus 900, and that's it. Just we can still get what was, I don't even remember his name, but we were all
Jim Montgomery.
No, the guy, the Calgary coach at the beginning of the year.
Oh, Huska. Ryan Huska.
Yeah, we can get a longer price now. That shows you how bang on we were about Calgary.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thanks to everybody there in the chat. All-Star Weekend it's a little slow, but today's a big day. I got a lot of positions in the All-Star game. I'm actually looking forward to it. The All-Star game, not so much, but the competition. So still some markets out there. I'm on Makar if you're looking to get on something to get a little action on it.
I'll be in the building and I'll be cheering for Makar with you, buddy.
Okay. Cheer my Turkish soccer games on too.
Go Turkish soccer.
Yeah, I appreciate it. All right, but that's where we are there. Thanks to producer Mick. Thanks to everybody there in the chat. We'll be back. Do we got games next Wednesday? Are they off or no?
Monday starts up again.
Oh, okay, good. So, but the guys who are late this week are off. Yeah, it's an extended break for the guys who are late.
Just going to confirm that. So Monday, February 5th, 2 games. It's the Islanders, Maple Leafs, and Rangers in Colorado. And then, we go to somewhat of a full slate on Tuesday. So.
Okay, and then we're back here Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 10 a.m. More individual game props and looks at the board. So let's leave it at that. Big place, Skinner plus 6,000. Monty plus 5,000. Matthews MVP plus 1,200. Some looks from Carlo, some big looks. Let's do it that. Appreciate everybody there.
Sniffing around.
Oh, he's sniffing. Oh,
sniffing.
Yeah. Shout out to the sniffers as always. I'm Josh Ingles. He's Carlo Colaiacovo. This is NHL Puck Prop presented by Sports Interaction. Enjoy the All-Star game, everybody. We'll see you back here next week, Wednesday, 10 a.m.